Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to Inspire Plus, the automotive industry's first and only streaming platform that brings you new and original content each and every month. And today we are taking a trip into a not so distant future that's going to be here before you know it, where our team will show you how you can start marketing towards the EV future today. And listen, kids, the Master Control program has nothing on us. So let's hop on our light cycles and get the show on the road or on the grid or the road grid. You know what? I'm not sure. Let's just get this thing started and talk about why we are here today. So really, this is an exciting time in the automotive industry because like the car of tomorrow is pretty much here. We've come a long way in the 70 years since this cartoon you see on the screen first came out to a world of where electricity will be the driving force, literally, behind all of our vehicles. And not to get sidetracked here so early, but I tend to do that sometimes. I remember watching this cartoon when it came out, not when 1951, but it used to play on Saturday mornings when I was a little 8-year-old kid. And I was always amazed by what these storytellers thought the car of tomorrow looked like. And the hilarious part about this, in my research, getting ready to put the show together, I discovered that the car of tomorrow cartoon here, this is what those storytellers, those animators were envisioning the year 2000 to look like. This is the year 2000. Well, we're 21 years past that, and I don't know. I think they missed it a little bit. These super high roads, and I think there's there's a big car driving a bunch of smaller cars. Not very foresightful on their part. But anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about why we are here, because this is where we sit today. The automotive industry has been challenged to make half of its fleet electric by 2030. So that goal has been set. And, our automakers are reaching towards that. And, listen, from your point of view as a dealer, I get it's easy to sit there right now and take a look at the current market share EV vehicle penetration and think, I don't know, 2.5%, 3% of all vehicles right now are electric. We need to be 50% in 8 years. And that's like kind of a long way off. So that's a future me problem, not a today me problem. Why do we need to start thinking about this? And why do we have to have a marketing strategy for it like now? And that's totally a fair question to ask. And the way I would answer it would be to ask you this question, and that is to look at a different 8-year gap that took place in the not too distant past. So let's go back to 2013, right? Mobile internet traffic certainly wasn't top of mind for most businesses because really only 17%-ish of web traffic was being driven by mobile phones. And today we know it makes up the majority of our web traffic. But back in 2013, it was tough to talk to a business and convince them they had to have this mobile first mindset with their website. And we know that because that's when Dealer Inspire became the first company in the automotive industry to have a responsive web platform that was built with the mobile user experience in mind. So my question to you is, and I want you to think about this seriously, knowing what you know now, if you could go back in time, would you do mobile differently? Would you have adopted earlier? Would you be taken it more seriously? Would you come up with mobile buying journeys? And I'm thinking most of you would have, because you see where we landed. So you're presented with a very similar situation today. Is the EV market share low right now? Without a doubt, yes, it is. But is it going to become the accepted standard in a relatively short period of time? Yes, it is, because check this out. Right now, there are 22 OEMs with plans to release electric vehicles by 2025. And I'm no math scientist. That's not a thing, which is why I'm not one of them. But that's only 3 years away. And for those following along home, 19 of those 50 vehicles that are set to hit the market here are going to be arriving in 2022. So that's like a tomorrow problem, not an 8 years from now problem. That's going to be a lot of juice hitting the streets here in what's really a short period of time. And look, the OEMs on the list here, it's like pretty much everyone. And that's not even including the electric elephant in the room, Tesla, or like any of these other EV only startups that are coming to market like Bollinger and Canoo and Fisker and Atlas and a bunch of others. So another way to say it is that the EV market is just going to be more competitive than it's ever been in just a few short years. My goodness. As car dealers, you have a ton on your plate as far as getting ready for the EV future. I mean, you've got to add, upgrade, retrofit your service base to handle the EV vehicles. There's a good chance that aside from adding like charging stations in and around your dealership, your OEM is going to ask you to make some other facility upgrades that you're going to have to take into consideration. Your service techs are going to need training on these things. Your sales team is going to have to understand how to sell them and who they're selling them to. Certainly anticipate a lot of shoppers having just a ton of questions, especially early on as they begin to learn this new language of EVs. And of course, you're going to need to develop a customer journey to inform your marketing strategy. Now, look, we can't help you with those first four things because that's not what we do. But there is one thing we can help you with, and it's this: how to implement a marketing strategy that aligns with the customer journey of an EV shopper. And that's exactly what we are here to do today. So let's power this thing up, everybody, and bring on our electrifying EV experts. Today, I'm going to be joined by Anna Tan, one of the SEO specialists at Dealer Inspire. We have Molly Gates, one of our digital advertising specialists. We also have Allison Hartman, social media manager. And then last but certainly not least, we have performance manager Derek Dahlke. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Inspire Plus.
Hey. Hello. Hello.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Let's see how many different electric puns can I get it? Oh, you guys are all charged up today. Oh my God. You almost seem ecstatic. Ecstatic. Show's over, everybody. Sorry, just having a little bit of fun. I am a level 4. I have 4 kids, so I'm a level 4 dad jokist. So I can do that and get away with it, and you can't stop me. Okay, enough about that. Let's talk about what we're going to do here today. So before we jump on those light cycles, let's take a look at the road we're going to be traveling down today. First up, we're going to talk about the EV buyer and where and how to find them. From there, we'll provide you with the blueprint that'll allow you to supercharge your SEO and EVs that'll make your website an EV authority in the eyes of search engines. But more importantly, real EV shoppers. After that, we'll show you how to amplify your efforts on social and start building an audience with email. And lastly, we'll get into marketing to EV intenders. So when you have a product to sell, you can be right there from the start. So here's what we're going to cover first. We are going to talk about how we're going to find the EV buyer. And Derek, I want to talk to you, my man, because I know you are like way into cars, way into EVs, way into this whole new world that's growing around us. And I really want to hear about how, our clients who are watching this can start identifying EV buyers right now, even if they don't have a vehicle to sell just yet.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks, Jason. How are you?
I'm awesome. As you can tell, I'm no more electric puns. I'm just excited to be here.
Clearly, we're all jolted up and fueled, ready to go. So we're set and ready.
Yes.
So I think this is a fantastic conversation because for us as Dealer Inspire, we thrive on data. That's essentially how we make decisions with partnerships of dealerships, as well as our own internal teams, and kind of having an idea of how to market these things. But the question is what do you do when you market something that you're not really sure? Well, I think the good news is we don't need a ton of data to really figure out what we need to move forward because we already have that information based on historical. As you mentioned, a great example of that is mobile first wasn't a first priority. What was it, 7 years ago, 8 years ago? Now we're looking, like you said, almost 20 vehicles are being delivered by next year from an EV standpoint. So as we kind of take a look, I think we can kind of figure out who is going to be buying these types of vehicles.
Yeah, and so when we talk about that, we're really talking about buyer personas then, right?
Correct. And somebody who is a buyer persona, for those who might not know, is somebody who is your ideal customer within a certain bracket. That's utilizing some of the market research, utilizing some of the data analytical items, as well as our other data partners that we utilize. So as we kind of look through, we can kind of dive in and see who these buyer personas are and share a little bit more light on each one.
All right. Well, geez, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So the first one primarily is going to be the environmentalist or an early adopter. They're going to be the one that are looking to kind of focus on, they're more concerned about the environment and how their choices can impact, the bigger picture. It's one step at a time. You improve 1% every day. By the end of the day, you're 1% closer to the goal. That's ideally kind of this way. Focusing on how their choices and individuals can impact from a bigger perspective. They also know that this is kind of the future, and they also might not be interested in the traditional buying process. The reason why that's so important is we've seen other competitors such as Carvana and Vroom really head first into the space where they're really driving into the market because there's a demand. Supply and demand is no different. So these are ones that are a big focus and kind of that first stepping stone, if you will.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense for like this environmentalist persona. You don't necessarily need to sell them on the vehicle or the concept of owning an EV. You just need to sell them on the actual buying experience and make it easy and make it, really good. If that makes sense, right? So let's move on, Derek, to our next persona. Who's up next? Who are we talking about here?
Yeah. So the next one is another early adopter. That'll be the what we call the reformed gas guzzler. Uh, I myself am probably in this category. I own a Ford Mustang. Doesn't really get very good gas mileage. I think it's average of 15 in the city. To be honest, it's got a V8. Probably get like 5 to 10 as I'm going on the highway.
8.
Yes, I think the highest or the lowest rather was about 2 under full throttle. So it's just dumping fuel at that point. But this is a great example of somebody that would fit my persona. Where we're aware of that. Hey, gas is kind of, they're not normally focused fully on the environment, but they're willing and able to see kind of what the limitations are. Myself will be a great example of this. Is maybe I want to drive 300-400 miles. Before 5 years ago, that may have been an issue. Now it's kind of aware of saying, hey, we're looking at the market, and the Ford Mach-E is a great example of this, where, it's 300-400 miles for ranges, depending on what you're utilizing it for. And for me, I get the performance aspect of it. So, that's a lot more buyer persona there.
Yeah, and I think this one kind of has a little bit of overlap with the environmentalist, but is like different enough that it deserves its own persona. Whereas the environmentalist might start looking at like how the impact to make of buying an EV now versus buying an EV 3 years from now, and the difference in range and battery capacities and disposal and sustainability and all that. Whereas reformed gas guzzler seems like a little more ready to like jump in ASAP. So let's keep moving. We got a couple more we want to cover, especially these early adopters. What do you got next, Derek?
Yeah, the next one is not going to be necessarily focused on the priorities of the previous two. They're more focused on the consumer aspect of it, of how it's going to help them, whether it be tech, the looks, styling, looking at it from a more, I have the newest, latest, and greatest thing. We see this across the phone business between iPhones and Samsungs and everything else. The phone contracts are long gone. You need a phone here, you can have it for a year and you can trade it right back up. Those are the types of buyers. It's a large market. We can not only see that just based on, like I said, the phone industry, but the car industry. Teslas, people aren't buying EVs, they're mostly buying Teslas. And that, I think, produces a unique challenge and also a unique opportunity in the sense that these people, they don't have the support that dealerships provide from a utilization standpoint. So you get to have the benefit of the sleek, new, fancy things, while also knowing if I have an Apple product, I can go into the Apple store for servicing that. These types of customers would be the same way as that you provide that boutique type experience to it. So it's a interesting one, but there's definitely a lot of people in that category.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit more about experience in a little bit, but really the thing to think about the technologist, it's like the style, the performance, and all those things. And yeah, the environment's neat, but a lot of it can be too. It's like, hey, check out my ride. It's pretty sweet. You don't have one. I do. Not to say that ego's involved, but it could be. So we got another one here. This looks like somebody who I identify with. Let's talk about the overscheduled adult here, Derek.
Yeah, so these will be ones that maybe they're not super focused on what they're going to be buying for a next vehicle. They might have a few kids, there's soccer practices, there's gym classes, there's school, grocery visits, clothes shopping, there's millions of things. We're coming up on the holiday shopping season. Let's be honest, the focus probably maybe not for these people is, hey, I need to buy a vehicle. It's how do I get Christmas presents? How do I need to go to this store to get this sale? There's a whole lot of things. They're genuinely curious about it. They care about the environment, but maybe it's not the full priority. Probably more so because there's not a lot of time to learn about these things. I only have a 3-year-old, thankfully, just one. I don't fall necessarily into this category, but I do have some overlap, so I think I understand. So like you said, the level 4, I'm only at a level 1, so I think I still got a ways to go. But for me, I think I'm all right with that.
Yeah, no, this is definitely me. 3, I'll see your 3-year-old and raise you a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So boom, I win. No, I don't. It's not a contest. But no, it's like you just said, it's like so many considerations throughout the day. We're gonna need a new family hauler here within a couple years. The one we have just crossed 100,000 miles, and there's nothing more than I would like to try an electric vehicle. But at the same time, I don't have time to think about it. We're just going to do what we got to do. So this is definitely seems like this is going to be like a lot of people. And we classify these as a late adopters, right? They'll get there eventually with not too much trouble, but it's not necessarily going to be the people banging down your door the second you have one to sell. Is that fair to say, Derek?
Yeah, wholeheartedly. And I think we've also seen that with kind of the resurgence of the demand for big SUVs and trucks, because it's the size aspect, it's the busyness. It makes life just that little bit easier. EVs just aren't quite there yet for them, but we know it will be, and we know it's coming, and they know it's coming. But the hauling the kids 500 miles across for JV tournaments are probably a little bit more important than an EV at this time.
Yep, makes sense to me. And then one more here. Who are we talking about here?
Yeah, so these last ones are ones that, particularly, they're not the target market. Plain and simple, these are the people who maybe they're heavy hauling where they need 10,000 pounds of towing capacity, and they're hauling it halfway across the country. I live in Wisconsin. They're maybe not far up north where you're climbing up a bunch of through logging trails and things like that. It's also the buyer that maybe buys a 2500 HD diesel for a number of reasons. They're probably not the market, and that's totally okay. I think a lot of times we get kind of hung up on, well, we can't market this to person. You're never going to, and that's okay because they have other options already. So.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of going through these buyers personas, is understand who you can market to, who are going to be the most likely to purchase an EV, especially early on here, and then over the next few years as we build up towards that 50% of vehicles. So what can we do at that point? So we identify our personas. What is it that we do from here, my friend?
Yeah, any good marketing strategy, it's great to know what you're marketing it to, but how do you utilize those tools to ultimately get to the people that you want to market to? These provide the tools and how we can find them. So as I mentioned before, utilizing some of the Google analytical data with demographics, interests, things like that, it can kind of give you a good idea in terms of where they're looking at. So the map here that we have is in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and each pin will represent kind of the cities that could be home to the environmentalist, the reformed gas guzzler, as well as the technologist. That gives you a good range of ideas to say, okay, my dealership's here. Okay, well, how do I find those customers? And as we kind of look into the next piece, we can find out exactly what dealerships can do with that. One of the great parts is a lot of times, again, how do I find this information? Well, you already have it. That's the great part, is it's in your CRM. Looking at the sales reports, figuring out, the XYZ dealership sold 15 EVs last month versus one the previous year. You can then compare the same way with your data to say, well, we sold one in this area last year, but we sold 5 this year. That's a trend. That's an indication to say, hey, things are increasing. We should probably start to look at those pieces. And we can also utilize that same piece in the Google Analytics to see those interests and customer base, as well as our third-party data partners, and kind of find where to start looking.
Right. Checking into that data that you have just to see where you naturally, acquire sales from and acquire leads from, and then match that up against where these buying personas are living based on, the demographics that we assign to them. That can really lead you with a great place to start. But you also might find that there's areas that are relatively nearby that you could be marketing to, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as with any strategy, there's always going to be pieces that maybe you just didn't simply know about. So when we compile all of that kind of data from a strategy standpoint, we kind of look and see this map here where, there's outliers that maybe aren't worth putting into, which kind of dives back into, that fifth early or that late adopter that you're just not going to be able to. And any strategy that you have, you're going to focus obviously on the ones that are closest to you and branch out. Now, one of the nice pieces is that as we look at those pieces, we can say, these green or blue, this is where we need to invest more in because we're seeing those trends. And then you can expand out, maybe spend a little bit less money and not be as competitive. But, utilizing those pieces are really important because you can say, okay, we have $1,000 for this region. Well, I only need 500 to reach the next one. And I'm hitting the same number of people. And eventually, as we know, it'll expand out and more people will buy and you're going to see a better return. I think what we're seeing now is that kind of race to the starting line. We don't know the finish line yet because we don't have the products, But that's why we're all talking about this stuff, is to get it in front of people to start. So
Yeah, and I'd really encourage everybody who's watching to set aside some time here in the really near future. Figure out what EVs your OEM has coming to market. Figure out what that timeline is, and then really set aside time to go through this exercise of checking out those personas, getting it all plotted on the map that's local to you. And again, because you're watching this on Inspire Plus, even if you're watching it live, you're going to be able to go back and stream it, so you can kind of slow things down, make sure you're getting everything you need, and you can do this and really come up with that baseline for how you're going to start marketing, and then the timeline that's involved with it. Because this whole thing about figuring out where everyone is, that's going to play into your SEO and your SEM marketing strategies, which we're going to talk about here in a bit. There's going to be a lot of data for you to crunch and analyze. So Derek, I almost called you Eric for some reason. So Eric plus D, Derek.
yeah,
There's another little tip here you got for everyone to keep their eye on things. What do we got here?
yeah. So more data is kind of utilizing Google Trends. And this is something our SEO team already handles. So if you're already utilizing our Dealer Inspire SEO services, great, you're in good hands. But looking at this, these are questions that you have to ask yourself is, what am I looking at? And in this, we have Toyota electric cars 2022. And, in 2020, not really very much interest. Even in 2021, not really a lot happening. And then as we head mid-year, it really starts to pick up, and it's going to continue going up because we're going to be in 2022. So those pieces you can plug into your specific OEM. You can plug in the specific cars that have coming up. So as Jason mentioned, would be relevant to really take a look and see, the Volkswagen ID4 is one. Dealers were looking that up last year when customers were doing the same things. And then you can plan and market and wait for the rollout and things like that. So it really helps bring everything together to see what people are actually searching for.
Yeah, and that's what it does right there, Derek. I'm glad you said that, because it brings this exercise back to real people and lets you see what real people are really searching for there. And we talked about a big part of that, especially when we were talking about like the environmentalist, our buying personas, and how it's not, you don't need to sell them on the EV. You need to have the experience that sells them on you. I was just hoping you could elaborate on that a little bit for me.
Yeah. So I think it's not really unreasonable to assume that kind of the people that are early adopters, so that environmentalist and technologist, that sure, they're just going to know exactly what they want and they're just going to buy from you regardless. There's still going to be that demand, as you said, with the sales team and the service teams, with a training aspect and the knowledge aspect to it. I think one of the biggest pieces to utilize that is a simple way to communicate. These people may, as we mentioned in the environmentalist, they may be turned off with the buying experience at a dealership. They may not want to visit the dealership. I would put myself in this situation where the vehicles I've purchased have been, I've called the dealership or I've sent emails, confirmed the quote, got everything handled. I show up to the dealership with a check and I go on my way with the vehicle. That's a great buying process and it's been a good experience for me. But there's also been times where I haven't been able to communicate to the dealer because maybe they didn't have a chat tool and I had to call, and it was kind of a painful process. One of the great parts is utilizing chat to be that point. So when a customer does utilize chat, they can talk to somebody preferably at the dealership where it has the knowledge. And that's, I think, one of the key pieces with the conversations and self-managed chat is be able to utilize, you're talking to somebody at the dealership. You're not talking to a call center that's just kind of compiling the information and getting it back to you. And kind of one of the key pieces that helps differentiate, especially in the last 18 to 24 months, we want to talk to real people who can help us solve the real questions that we kind of have.
Yeah, and if you've watched any of our shows here on Inspire Plus before, I'm a firm believer that the number one way to get more sales opportunities without spending a dime is to simply take your chat back and just handle these inbound messages yourself while you're open. Remember, this is going to be some vehicles that people are going to have questions about, and the OEM won't personally answer the question, and they might not yet find the exact answer they're looking for on Google. Spoiler alert, something we're going to be talking about, how to make sure you have that answer. And so the natural place for them to reach out to is their local dealership. It's that same concept like Derek mentioned. If you're having a problem with your iPhone or your MacBook and you can't figure it out, you just take it to the Apple store here and talk to a friendly associate who's going to get you all squared away. They're going to expect that same kind of experience, And you can provide that. Your team is the best one to provide that. Give them that high touch customer service because you're equipped to handle it. From the experience side of things, let's stick there. Derek, what else should dealers be aware of as EVs are coming to the lots here?
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head where customers are wanting to ask questions more and more. And I think one of the biggest pieces is, well, can I afford it? As we know, things are becoming more and more expensive. Tesla is a perfect example of this. Is you go on their website, it's like you're ordering something off Best Buy, and you're just clicking through the situations, and you press checkout, and you've found your way. That's great, but this is the second largest purchase that consumers make in their lifetime. This is something that ideally should be personal, and this is something that we've seen just from our data aspect over the last, 2 years or so. Is customers still want to go into the dealership? They still want that personal experience, and as we look at that, Online Shopper provides that way to utilize to say, here's the payment options, and you give the power back to the customer. You're sort of allowing that environmentalist and the technologist, you're putting the power back in their hands, which, as we've seen, increases profit as a whole because the customer doesn't feel that pressure. They don't feel like I need to do this. They're doing already what you don't really need to convince them for, which provides better confidence. They feel like they've gotten exactly what they wanted, and customer satisfaction is no different on our end as a provider to dealerships. Dealerships want to provide that same experience to the customer. This gives them the way to kind of say, okay, well, I'm looking at these two vehicles, kind of what makes sense. Tesla doesn't provide that. It's like, hey, you want a Model 3? Here it is. That's it. You want to buy it? You want to lease it? What do you want to do? That's it. Dealerships are much different. There's a ton of things that you can do, and there's going to be options and different add-ons and things like that that are going to be available for these vehicles that are coming out. That's not including additional gas savings, not talking tax credits, the ability of how to actually own an electric vehicle, which we'll talk about more, is what are the steps I need to do to prepare myself. Those are all things that can help aid in the entire journey.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing up Tesla, because go to their website and see what it's like. Sure, you can build your car, and then they give you those three options. You want to pay cash? Go ahead. You put down your card, put down your black card. And here's your lease payment if you want to lease, and here's your finance payment if you want to finance. You can't modify a single thing. It just is what it is. You have no transparency into the rates. Nothing. Whereas Online Shopper, it allows that customer to pull all those levers to get themselves comfortable. And that's why it does lead to more profitable deals. Just like you said, Derek, because people feel like they're in control of the experience. So just by having Online Shopper, you can have better technology than Tesla does on their website. It's really kind of janky if you go look at it. It's not the greatest thing in the world. But the overall idea is, right, set up that experience, set yourself up for success when the EV buyers start coming to market. Right, Derek?
Exactly. At the end of the day, like we said, we're here for the customer experience. And these tools help aid making things easier for the dealership, which ultimately leads to more profit, more satisfaction. If we can all make the customer happier at the end of the day, we're going to go to bed happy and wake up with, well, for me, I only have one screaming kid. You might have a few more, Jason. But that's the goal at the end of the day.
And it's not a bad goal to have. Well, Derek, my man, I really appreciate you stopping by to share all that knowledge with us. So let's keep this thing moving. We're going to get Anna up here. Anna, hi, how are you?
Hey, Jason, I'm good. Excited to be here.
I'm excited that you're here because you've got some really powerful, deep, and insightful knowledge when it comes to building an SEO strategy for EVs. And I just want to dive right in. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, I am ready.
All right, go.
Go. Yeah. So, we're approaching and pretty much already in this all electric future, and it's super cool. You've got the tech point of view. I remember growing up in a car that had the crank window, which I kind of miss personally, but now you've got touchscreens and tablets and self-driving. The car will tell you when it needs maintenance now, instead of needing to rely on remembering when to look at the sticker. And then from the business perspective, we've seen dealerships change their buying process so drastically. It used to be you go into the dealership, then it was you look at the computer. Now you can do it from your phone. You can buy a car online, schedule service online. It's just, we've come a really far way just over a short period of time. And really the EV market is just going to push us into this more of a whole new world of an electric future. And as with change with anything, you know, people have questions. And honestly, from an SEO perspective, it's kind of this dream, because currently with dealership SEO, where we tend to be reactive, we find this keyword that our competitor is ranking for, it's got nice search volume, and we're like, okay, we can develop better content than that. And it's really reactive. And with the EV market, we'd get a chance to be proactive, because the stuff isn't all out there yet, doesn't exist on mostly dealership websites. And even for people who are interested in EVs like myself, you know, there's so much different with an electric vehicle than there is a gas functioning vehicle. So there's these questions out there that need answers, and it's a huge opportunity to get ahead of the ball game, get ahead of the competition, and become an authority figure, not just for the search engines, because, you know, that's all fantastic and everything, but also for the everyday consumer, which is fantastic.
That is fantastic. I'm going to blow your mind right now. You mentioned the oil change sticker. You know, when I started driving, you know how we remembered when we needed an oil change?
No.
You just had to remember that when your last oil change was. They didn't even have stickers.
Oh my
gosh!
gosh!
Remember.
I honestly, like, I know the maintenance schedule, and I was taught how to take care of my car, but like I rely on those stickers, and I do not have a car right now that tells me, hey, I need an oil change.
Do you still have stickers on your closet that reminds you of that?
Fantastic. Or like when the sticker starts to peel off, and I'm just like, no, don't, I need it.
So yeah, I stand by the fact that the oil change sticker is the single greatest invention of the 20th century. Anyway, so back to your point, SEO, there's a huge opportunity because you get to do it early, which really you don't get that opportunity very much. So when we talk about content planning and putting together an SEO strategy, what do dealers need to be thinking about right now?
Yeah, so, you know, we think back to those buyer personas, right? You've got all these different ones and the buyer journey at large. And really, I'll just be taking us through that sales funnel because it's a great place to start. And if you don't have EVs yet, it doesn't mean you can't start building an EV SEO strategy, lots of acronyms there, but you just need to start at the top of that funnel. So people are going to be searching for research topics like, what are the benefits of owning an EV? What's the difference between a hybrid and electric car, or even a gas and an electric car if you're going straight from gas to electric? I personally drive a hybrid, and I still have a lot of questions on the difference between a hybrid and an electric car. Is it even worth owning an EV? You know, we come from so many different places in life. Are you a city driver? Are you a suburb driver, rural driver? Do you have lots of kids? You know, the first electric vehicle that I had in my mind before Tesla came about was like this big, it was super tiny. And now we've got SUVs that are coming out that are all electric. So we really have this walk of life of people who have these general questions about what an EV is that they're searching for today. And creating that content thoroughly to answer those questions is going to be a great way to start building your authority for EVs in general, even if you don't have EVs at your dealership yet.
Yeah, and everyone put a pin in what Anna just said right there, because that's going to be the linchpin to the strategy. Doesn't matter if you have them, you're going to have them next month or next year, whatever. You can start doing this now, and you need to start doing this now. So we're starting at the high funnel content right there. What other topics sticking at this part of the funnel should our our viewers be considering?
Yeah, so, you know, owning an EV, as I've mentioned in the past 5 seconds, it's vastly different from owning a gas powered vehicle. And there's content that you can publish to help educate what those differentiators are, so that as they start to consider if they should transition into an EV, you know, how do you prepare your home for an EV? You're going to need a charging station overnight to be able to charge your vehicle. You don't want to be left in a situation where you're relying on, your workplace's charging station. And then guess what? Everyone gets EVs, but there's only 2 charging stations, and now you're out of power and you can't get home. Or how long does it take to charge an EV? There's, all this level 1, level 2 power charging stuff, and it just kind of goes over the average consumer's head because they're not questions that pop in. The oil change, electric vehicles don't need oil changes, so that, we're getting rid of that sticker, we're getting rid of that notification. There's tax credits. There's just so much to dive into on that content piece alone that just gets a little bit more nitty gritty, but it's not quite vehicle specific yet.
And then I just realized when I get an EV, I'm going to get like my own set of clear stickers, and I'm just going to write on there, next charging 6 hours. And I'll just put a new one on every day.
Every day.
Charge by end of day today. Just so I don't forget, because I don't want to forget. But I think it goes back to what Derek was saying, like about the customer experience, to tie it back to what we were talking about there. So a lot of these topics that you're bringing up, they're not vehicle specific. And OEMs, and which is their right to do, they normally don't cover these just kind of general topics. So if it can fall on you as the dealer to become the expert and provide all the answers, that's only going to benefit you in the long run and help you provide an overall ownership experience with that EV that's very informational, educational, that engages shoppers who are going to want to buy from you. What other types of content should dealers be looking at here?
Yeah, so we've probably got some aspiring bloggers out there, and publishing content about your brand's upcoming EVs is the next best step. You want to build a following, an audience for those vehicles, and if there's an annual trade show or auto show in your area, it's a great place to get first impressions, get some great pictures, get the first look, and be able to provide that to people looking at it. You can cover those vehicles all the way up to the launch of production, to arriving at your dealership. So take the BMW iX, for example. That was announced early 2021 with the release date sometime in the first half of 2022, which is just around the corner. And if you were covering the iX from the get-go, from when they first just showed pictures of it and it wasn't even in production yet, by the time it's available for sale, the search engines will have crawled through enough of your content to recognize that you're an authority figure on the iX and the EV market, which would be tremendous help on your organic rankings and when you need people who actually start searching for that specific vehicle, because it's finally hit the lot and people are looking for it now. And Google's just like, hey, they know what they're talking about. And it's fantastic.
Yes, that is exactly it. So where do we go? What's next as we're getting lower in the funnel here?
Yeah, so we're going to follow the journey of that vehicle into production, and you can then create the model landing page. It's going to be the source for all the information associated with each specific vehicle. It can get really nitty gritty into price, interior, exterior, the mileage, the service it's going to need, and there are more formal landing page that kind of highlights the specifics of that vehicle. The great part is that you can link out then to other more in-depth pieces to ensure that both the shopper and the search engine understand the most logical next steps in terms of the page visit is going to be. And it's those types of signals that'll really help boost the relevance and usefulness of your content. And that's the relevance that's going to lead to informed and engaging customers that are going to talk to you and hopefully purchase a vehicle from you.
Yeah, Anna, I really feel like you're building towards something big here. So let's just lay it on me. What do we got next?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the next step is you're then going to take all of those model landing pages and create an EV hub page. So once you have more than one piece of content around the EV, this hub is going to act as a jumping off point where shoppers can learn about all the EVs you have to offer.
Yes. And so that's really like putting that bow on top. It's really putting together the whole thing. And then what do we do? I mean, we can't just like publish it all. We got to do something with it, right?
Yep. Yeah. So that last step is it's really going to serve as a directory source, both for the real people and the search engines. Both are important, but the real people, we're real. But that way, then you can actually discover all of the EV content in one nice, concise way. It's going to have the content and inventory easily accessible. You'll want a top-level menu item that can lead to the EV hub page, your inventory, related content. Homepage sliders is a great way to promote your EVs and see that they're available for sale. Create an above-the-fold CTA, especially for mobile, quick access to inventory and information. And of course, you want to make sure that all of the supporting content that you created contains internal links to the related content, as well as linking back through the model landing pages. And ultimately, it creates this nice spider web organized effect.
That sounds like it's all connected, right?
Yep, it's all connected and it's nice and pretty. Implementing an EV focused strategy today, it's just so, it makes me very happy. I'm a nerd, so organizing things, it makes me very happy. But SEO takes time. And when it comes to the EV market, we have that time. And it's not very often you get to build something with SEO from the ground up as the market is moving with it. So this is really your chance to set the bar high for your competition and start winning those organic search results, because you're going to get there before anyone else. And, just to button it up, as you go through the steps that we talked about, it's essentially, this is what you're building, this little nice, pretty graph. It's clear, concise, it's organized, it has all of your EV content, and it's easy for not just the user experience to understand, but also the search engines. They're going to love to crawl through that. And it's a win-win. It really, really is.
Yeah, it's a huge win. And, if you don't do SEO with us, well, first thing, if you do have SEO with us, then this is what you're getting. You're getting the prettiness, you're getting that strategy. And if you don't, and you're using another provider, do you have something like this? Is this what your strategy looks like? Make sure it has that kind of structure, because if it doesn't, then you're probably not getting the best service you could. And you just might want to, give us a call. That's all I'm going to say about that. But we know SEO is more than content and keywords. It's a big part of it, but there's other things. There's other signals that go into account, and we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on a few of those as it relates to EVs. So what else can we do here that is going to affect our visibility in search?
Yeah, so kind of pivoting away from content and giving you some more ideas to think about. The next thing your dealership can do is, if you have a public charging station at your dealership, or you plan on having one in the future, you can actually create a listing for your Google Business Profile. It's no longer Google My Business, it's now Google My Business Profile. So changes there happening as well. But pretty much in your Google Business Profile, use the electric vehicle charging station category. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow EV owners who are searching for things like charging station near me, which is going to be very, very popular search in Google Maps and things. But that'll let your dealership's charging station pop up on the Mac Pack. And it's a fantastic option. I mean, I personally, if I had an EV, I'd be searching that to plan road trips. And if you're the one that has the charger available on my route during a road trip, well, hey, maybe I'll take a stop by, take a look at some new vehicles. It's a great option.
Yeah, that is, and honestly, I was today years old when I learned that EV charging stations had their own category for your Google Business. Wait, Google Business Profile. Google My Business has been ingrained in my head for so long. Google Business Profile. Google Business Profile. Okay. So what else can a dealer do here? Anna, let's keep it going.
Yeah, so you really just stick to the tactics that you'd normally use for any sort of other connected marketing campaign. You can certainly utilize Google Posts to promote your publicly available charging stations if that's something you're doing. Talk about your EV vehicles. Jumping back into the content side of things real quick, you can embrace the local content angle, publish an article on your blog like the 10 best EV charging stations in your city and state, and then list yourself as one of those top 10 on the list. And while you could certainly post about your publicly available charging stations on your social accounts, you could take it one step further, get a bit more fun, and you could make a social account for your charging station and have as something for your users and the people who stop by to engage with.
Yes, absolutely, 1,000%. If I was still in the dealership, this is exactly what I'd be doing, because I have this weird thing for inanimate objects that have their own social account and have their own personality. And it just gives you a lot more room for creative expression outside of what you're normally doing on your dealership's profile. Too much fun to pass up. So thanks for that great tip. SEO wise, what is left here to put a bow on it, if you will?
Yeah, so, just putting a nice ribbon on it. The last thing on the list is exploring those kinds of backlink opportunities you have. There could be some very natural connections with local businesses, organizations, nonprofits that are going to they're going to pop up. There's ample opportunity to publish and distribute press releases for your EV initiatives. In the state of Illinois, at least, you need to be a licensed electrician to install the at-home chargers. And that's a completely different business that you could connect with locally. There's also apps like PlugShare and ChargePoint, where you can submit your charging stations to a database. And then not only will it show the charging stations, it'll also have a link to your URL for your website. So really a lot of ample opportunities to stay competitive within the EV market across content, social networks, and within the local communities, which is awesome.
So, it sounds like there is a real opportunity here to earn those quality backlinks, which is never an easy thing to do, to actually earn them. So many opportunities with those electricians, like you were talking about, with local organizations, nonprofits, people who share the same values, just so much you can do. And that's just going to help your overall SEO profile. And Anna, you just brought it all crashing down among us for us to get all the right knowledge. And I love that so much. And for you watching right now, great part about being on a streaming platform, you just rewind it and watch it again and take some notes. And if you find yourself, you need a hand, you know who to call. You call us and we'll help you out. But let's keep things moving along here. Anna, you can stick around right there. Let's what are we going to do next? Oh, yes, we need to start talking social media. And for that, we need a social media manager, and that's Allison Hartman. Allison, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing awesome. I'm really excited to follow up Anna. She did an amazing job, and I love being shoulder to shoulder or bumper to bumper with the SEO team. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yes, those two kind of go together like peas and carrots. So I'm going to stop talking so you can start talking.
Awesome. Yeah. So there's so many awesome ways that social and SEO kind of go hand in hand, right? So all of that content you're going to utilize and publish with your SEO strategy, you're actually going to implement it right into your social media strategy. So whether you knew this or not, Facebook is the world's third most visited website. So you want to use that to your advantage, right? You don't want to miss that opportunity to publish that content that you put all this hard work in for SEO. So at DI, we create people first content first and foremost. And it just so happens that search engines also love when you publish that SEO content on your social media channels. So if reaching people is the goal of your content and you want people to discover your dealership or discover the fact that you have EV vehicles or EV content, you want to utilize that. So those two really go hand in hand.
They do. And I think, and I really appreciate you saying that, Allison, because I think that's one of the biggest misses that not just dealerships, but businesses in general don't make that connection. They see SEO as just for search engines and don't realize that, no, it's for real people. And it's great if real people with that search intent find it on a search engine, but how can you help people discover it? And social media is exactly how you do that, right?
Right. And there is a place for paid social strategy, which Molly will talk about next. But let's focus on the strictly organic side of things. Posting organically on your social media pages, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, it's not a heavy lift, right? So you want to make sure that you are publishing on those platforms for a couple reasons. First reason is, I bet you if you Googled your dealership right now, your Facebook page would come up in those search results. You're going to show up in there. So if customers are looking for your dealership, they find that page, they're going to be seeing your Facebook page. So you want to be publishing on it. So whether you're reaching followers in their newsfeed or they're finding you on Google, you want to make sure that you're checking in on those social accounts and at this point, sharing that content you want them to see, whether that's EV-focused content and so on and so forth. 2/3 of Facebook users visit a local business page at least once a week. So this is a perfect segue to start posting that EV content now. So you look like you're on top of it, you're ahead of the game, and you're staying relevant.
Yeah, and I know right now, I'm going to guess right now for people watching live, somebody's about to type in the chat, but isn't organic reach dead on Facebook? Well, it's not dead, right, Allison? It's not as great as it used to be, and there's no denying that. But to your point, those people who are dropping in just to see what your dealership is like, that is all the reason to make sure you have a regular and consistent organic posting strategy, even if you're not getting the kind of reach out of that you would hope you would. But when it comes down to it, when it comes about doing things on social media, these platforms have evolved so much, and there's so much more you can do with them to drive adoption and engagement than just sharing content, right?
Right. There's so much opportunity out there. And there's a couple strategies I want to talk about when talking about specifically about EV. One of the first strategies is creating an EV owners group. So this is an opportunity for you as a dealership to invite customers or really anyone who's interested in EV vehicles to join and share in the knowledge, ownership experience, and support when it comes to EVs. Building a community is the whole entire point of Facebook, right? They want to build these communities, they want you to grow, and they want you to connect. So it's a really great way to connect with your customers, but also be an expert or a knowledge source for that group. So even if you don't have an EV vehicle on your lot right now, you can be an expert on where to find a charging station or what's the best way to transition from a traditional vehicle to an EV vehicle. If you're not ready to prepare to create your own Facebook group and be large and in charge, you can also join Facebook groups and drop your SEO content right in those groups when people have questions or need some knowledge on that topic. So you can really gain a larger reach like that.
Yeah, those Facebook groups are huge. I mean, over the past however many dozen years or so that I've been on Facebook, there's been plenty of times recently I'm like, do I even need to be here anymore? And you know what it is that keeps on bringing me back to say, no, I need to stay here. It is the Facebook groups, where I can connect with people who are into Commodore 64s and comic books and Star Wars and all those good things. I love that idea of community, and knowing that you could like kind of curate and grow your own community to really just like educate and help grow that audience. That is kind of awesome. So I'm really into that idea. What else can we do besides posting things on the social media?
Yeah, so up next, we're going to talk about EV-focused Facebook events. We kind of want to dabble in all of these different types of strategies because you have so many different types of buyers, right? Derek talked about it earlier. You're going to have so many different people looking at EVs from different perspectives. So you want to make sure you're reaching all of those people. Something to start thinking about once EVs become a mainstay in your lineup is to create events open to the public so those people can come and see and test drive those vehicles. Something that's super cool about Facebook events is it not only reaches the people who follow your dealership on Facebook, it actually reaches people in your local area. So say you have an EV test drive in Naperville, Illinois, it's not only going to reach the people who follow you on Facebook, it's going to reach people in that location in their events tab on Facebook. So say your friend Joe is going to go check out the EV test drive. It's going to show up in your newsfeed, even if you don't follow the dealership. So it's a great way to invite your entire community to come down and test drive that EV.
Yeah, and that's really somebody to engage someone like from their curiosity, right? Especially those early adopters, let them see an EV up close in person, begin selling themselves on the idea of owning the electric vehicle. And then you're showing them how easy it is, to turn them into that owner. I did want to ask you this, Allison, since I have you here. I know a lot of clients ask us, hey, what's the best type of medium of content I should publish on my social channels, And it can vary depending on the social networks, but it's like, is it text posts? Is it link posts? Is it image posts? Is it video posts? In general, what would be your recommendation for EVs in terms of like starting to curate a following on social with that type of content?
Yeah, we really try to take a holistic approach. Like I said before, and like Derek talked about, there's so many different types of people that are going to be on these social media channels. You're going to want to appeal to everyone at some point, right? You don't want to silo yourself into just posting links or just posting video. You kind of want to cover all of your bases, which brings us into talking about creative short form video. If you're like me, the past year and a half, I've spent a lot of time on TikTok, probably too much time. So whether it's TikTok or Instagram Reels, the ability to show off your EVs, your charging stations, your facility, or even the experts in your dealership, you want to utilize it, right? On TikTok alone, there's been over 1.9 billion views with the EV hashtag. So that content is being consumed. I didn't know this, and I think it's a really cool fact. Check in on those hashtags with whether it's EV, electric vehicles, environmentally friendly vehicles. Those kind of hashtags are going to help you figure out what kind of content is being put out there and how many people are looking at it. Some of my best tips and tricks are doing an EV walk around or 3 reasons why someone should purchase an EV vehicle. That creative short form video is easy and quick to do. And again, you can get a lot of viewership from it.
Yeah, and that's pretty awesome. And really, it's like if SEO is all about establishing your dealership as an authority on the topics of EVs and related vehicles and those kind of things, then your social media is your chance to establish that same kind of authority with your viewing audience. And that's all amazing things. And while I have you here, Allison, if you don't mind, just want to change things up a little bit. And I was hoping you could talk to a little bit about email as well. Is that something you can do?
Yes, of course.
Yay. I was hoping you said, because if you said no, I was going to be like, well, now what do we do?
He's gonna
Uh,
do it.
so no, email, it's still an amazing resource for growing like this interested audience, right? And newsletter style emails are often way more engaged with than like a sales-based email. And that makes sense. When you're giving people information that they want to see, they're going to engage with it. So what can our dealers do to start building an email list or an EV mail list, if you want to get punny with it, for those interested in that type of vehicle?
Yeah, so this just builds on top of that exposure piece. The more people see and interact with EV content or see it in their daily lives, the more comfortable they're going to be with it. So my first recommendation would be to start from scratch with a new list of people who are just interested in EV related content. I know it might seem like a no-brainer just to blast your entire email list with an EV content all the time, but that can have a negative impact. You can get some unsubscribes from people who really aren't interested in EV content. Like we said before, there's going to be people who are late adopters who don't want any of that information. And once that customer unsubscribes to you, you can't get them back and you can't send them any sort of email. So my recommendation would be to send an opt-in email. So send one email to your entire database asking if they would like to get EV related content. So you have this group of people who are interested and want that content, and avoid those unsubscribes in the future. And that will really help you.
Yeah, and that's really such a great tip right there. Just start with the people who want to know more, and then you grow from there, right?
Right. So another way to grow that list is add a section to your homepage. Like we said before, this is going to build into your SEO, whether you're getting website visitors, an introduction to your EV newsletter. Your homepage is going to be a high visible area on your website. So you're going to attract new customers and new EV interested customers right there on that homepage, which is going to get you some signups along the way.
Yep, absolutely. Another easy thing you can do. What else?
Going back to social really quick, because it is my favorite. There's a couple ways you can get some of those email signups on your social media channels. You can do a couple of things. The first thing you can do is add a learn more button on the homepage of your Facebook page. You can also add that CTA or call to action within an EV specific post. And when people click that learn more button, they have the opportunity to sign up for that EV related email list so they can get more information in the future.
Yeah, and that, I mean, honestly, it makes sense. It's just using everything you can to start building that email list. And it's more about, as you'll see here in a minute, not to spoil anything. Be quiet, Jason. It's more about just having people to email.
Yeah, and that's a really great thing about building and delivering an EV newsletter on a monthly basis, is that you're accomplishing two things at once. You're creating an engaged, low funnel audience that will most likely to be consumers or purchasing EV when they are available, but you're using that list to power some of your paid digital advertising initiatives, which Molly is about to cover.
Hey, wait, who's the host here? That's you just took my segue. Segway stealer. Wait, Segways are an electric vehicle, aren't they? Oh my gosh, what are we doing here? We're going down the rabbit hole of insanity. Okay, Allison, I really appreciate you talking about social and talking about email, tying it all together. We're keeping that thread going from the very beginning. So stick around and let's do this. Let me do that. There we go. And we're going to bring in, for the home stretch here, let's bring on Molly Gates to talk about some of the digital advertising tactics you can employ at your dealerships once the time is right. Hi, Molly. Thanks for hanging out with us this whole time. We're about to shine the spotlight on you. How you feeling?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I wish everyone told me we were doing car-related puns. I would have come prepared with one.
I thought I saw you furiously like what can I say? What can I say? Okay, well I bet you some will come up. So let's see what we can do. So let's start with that. Allison just teased it. And what role is a dealership's first-party data going to play in an EV-focused digital advertising strategy?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly like Allison said. Once your email list has grown and you've got the vehicles to sell, you can use that first-party email list within your digital advertising strategy. So, for example, if a person from your email list is searching online for a new Kia EV6, a bid adjustment can be applied to ensure that that individual from your email list sees your ad in that really valuable #1 spot of the search results.
Yeah, and that's really smart because look, they may have signed up for your list and they could be already your customer. But when they do get lower in the funnel and they're ready to buy an EV, there is a chance that they'll turn to search first just to start doing research instead of giving you a call or contacting you first. So if they're going to search, you might as well take that opportunity to make sure you're showing up. And you know, I don't like saying it, but we covered this a couple months ago right here on Inspire Plus, that dealer loyalty rate is only around 36% right now. So it's really crucial you're doing everything you can to stay in front of your customers. And if you are interested in learning more about those next level loyalty marketing strategies, there is a show just for that right here on Inspire Plus. Make sure you check that out after you're done watching this show. So Molly, how else can dealers then ease into advertising their EVs?
Yeah, so sticking with that email list idea, you can also incorporate it in your social advertising strategy. But if you want to reach even more in-market shoppers through social, we recommend adding in that pure in-market audience data from cars.com. That will allow you to reach other local EV shoppers that you know are in market because they were just shopping for an EV on cars.com.
Right. And that scale is really so important because your first party data is going to be limited by default. Eventually, you just have what you have and you will need to scale. So using that cars.com in-market audience, you can really start to dominate your market, can't you?
Oh, yeah. And this is why that exercise that Derek walked us through about finding your target zip codes for those EV buyer personas is so important. When you partner with Fuel in-market video to drive your video marketing, you can exclusively claim those zip codes and deliver your EV advertising messages to in-market cars.com shoppers.
Yeah, and this is a pretty huge capability here, because once you as a dealership, once you claim those zips, they're yours. And they're only yours. No other dealers can get them. The only way another dealer can enter that zip code is if you willfully give them up. So imagine this world where you're the dominant brand in those areas, where you're reaching those in-market EV buyers who are on cars.com, and you're able to follow them across platforms and devices wherever they go. And I'm sorry, y'all, I'm not trying to get all pitchy with it here, but my show, I do what I want. That is a game changer. So as dealers, when you start with your own data, and then when you scale with cars.com pure in-market audience data, you can do so much, but you can also take it up one step from there, right?
Yeah, exactly that. So there are a lot of other third-party data providers out there that you can layer on. There's like Quorum, Oracle, Poke, that's just to name a few. And again, going back to defining your buyer personas, that's where these data sets are going to come in handy, as you can identify not just in market segments, like whether they're in market for a certain make or body style, but also demographics and behavioral segments. So what are they interested in? What are their hobbies, occupation, age, marital status, how many kids you have, all stuff like that.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. And I think this is where a lot of dealers start their scale, right? You know, they go from like that native in-market segment found on, you know, Google, Facebook, or wherever they're advertising. And then they go right to a Polk or to whomever to scale, but they miss those crucial first two audience building steps, like the best converting lower funnel audiences of your dealer, your own first party data, and then that data from a trusted partner like cars.com. Is that like a fair assessment, would you say?
Oh yeah, that's absolutely right. Especially in a world with increasing privacy concerns, your own first party data is going to be the most valuable. And then the first party data of a trusted partner like cars.com, that will be your next best step, or your best next step. And then from there, you can layer in an audience from one of these third-party providers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great way to do that. So let's do this. Let's get a little more tactical and walk through some examples. You cool with that?
Yes, let's do it. So something that we actually already have clients running are pre-order campaigns. A lot of people are searching online for a way to pre-order the new EVs that are coming out in 2022. So having a search campaign in place to target those shoppers interested in being on, one of the first to own one of these is a great way to show that your dealership is the place to buy it from.
Yeah, and honestly, starting to build that loyal EV audience right from the very beginning, right from the pre-order stage, that is going to be so huge too for your efforts down the road, and definitely something you're going to want to do once you're able to. What else? What else can we do at this point in time?
Well, so just because the vehicles are new, that doesn't mean that we need to reinvent a whole new way to advertise them. Our classic dynamic inventory campaigns are still going to be the best way to present high intent searchers with a relevant text ad that contains dynamically generated ad copy. And that's entirely based on your real-time vehicle inventory.
Tried and true and reaching the right people at the right time. I love it. What else?
So once you have the ads down, then you'll need to pair them with the right audience and serve them that perfect message. For example, with the technologist, we're going to want to show them the vehicle that they're looking for, say like the Chevy Bolt EV, along with the ad copy associated with the tech lifestyle. So like something sleek, some tech savvy features. And this is a great way to deliver an ad at a low cost that's bound to lead to a click and some engagement on your website.
Yes, this is so great. We're making all these connections all the way from the very beginning up here as we're coming to the close. So I want to see what else you have. What else we got?
Yeah, so again, using our buyer personas as an example, think about not just who they are, but what kind of technology they might be using. For instance, when I think about the environmentalist persona, I think some of them may not be as tech savvy and they may not have the most up-to-date technology in the home. I'm sure they have a smartphone, but what about the computer that's sitting at their desk? There's a big portion of users out there who have that old Windows computer and their default search engine is Bing. So making sure that you're reaching those individuals with, say, a Bing automotive inventory ad, for example, that would be a great strategy.
Yeah, and that is literally my mom. She's definitely like the environmentalist in that buying persona. Yes, she has a smartphone. Yes, she's interested in electric vehicles and the environment, but sitting on her desk, the thing that she sits at in front of every single day is this ancient computer that I built for her years and years ago that probably has like Windows 7 on it and a really insecure version of Internet Explorer. I'm a terrible son. The point is her default search engine is Bing, and there's a lot of people out there like her. So there's a really big opportunity to reach these type of people on a platform like Bing with your inventory. I love that tip, Molly. Let's keep it going. What else do you have?
Yeah, so if you think about those late adopters, like the overscheduled adult, you can probably appeal to their sensibilities more effectively with a lease offer. A short-term lease on an EV might be a better entry point that someone won't have to think too hard about. While there's still the commitment of having to charge your vehicle at home, there's some peace of mind that if for some reason they don't enjoy EV ownership, they can turn their car in at the end of their lease.
Yeah, and I do think that's a fair point because look, I know we're being like really future forward here and we assume this is going to be a really smooth transition, but I mean, there's going to be early adopters who thought they were ready for that EV lifestyle. And then they realized after the fact, maybe I wasn't. And I know a couple of like really early Nissan Leaf owners who fell exactly into that category. One of them leased and the other one purchased. And the person who leased had a much easier exit point than the person who purchased. Needless to say, they had to sell that vehicle for a lot less than they paid for it just because of, marketing conditions and whatnot. So something to keep in mind. And that's another great point to remember as you're putting together your campaigns. So what else should dealers be looking at here, Molly, with their digital advertising campaigns?
Right. So if we want to circle back to that high touch experience that you can provide using Online Shopper, you can actually link that to any of your VIN specific ads, taking shoppers directly to an instant retailing experience for that specific VIN on your website. And you can employ this technology anywhere in your dynamic new and used campaigns, your automotive inventory ads on Facebook and on Bing. And you can even push out these links via text message and email. So, it's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it is. And that ability to link people directly from an ad to an instant retailing experience. We've seen some great results on that. 47% lower cost per lead from Facebook automotive inventory ads, which is just so awesome. What other considerations should our dealers be aware of here as we wrap things up?
Yeah, so two more quick things. First, there'll come a time when you'll want to start electronic vehicle acquisition campaigns. You can support these campaigns with your own first-party data, peer and market audience data from a trusted partner, or third-party data from a Poke, Oracle, Forum, stuff like that. The idea being that you'll want to have pre-owned and even certified pre-owned EV options alongside your new offerings.
Right, which is a no-brainer, right? And those early days when you're not necessarily getting EV trade-ins, go to market with a vehicle acquisition trade-in campaign geared towards EVs, so you can have some certified pre-owned options available for those who may not be able to afford the brand new shiny one that they had their hopes set on. You said two things, so that means there's one more. What else?
Yeah, so the second thing you need to be aware of is what kind of co-op eligibility your OEM is placing on advertising for EV models. For example, Volkswagen made ID4 ad spend 75% co-op eligible, which obviously provides a pretty big assist for serving your marketing messages with your approved provider, like us here at Dealer Inspire.
Molly, my gosh, look at you. So yeah, and that's definitely a trend we're expecting, right? As we see these OEMs come to market, they're going to want you as a dealer to get that word out, and they're going to incentivize you to do so. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that. And thank you, Molly, for helping us break it all down and sitting patiently there till the end. It was super helpful and super enlightening, especially in this time as we're transitioning towards the EV future. And with that, folks, we made it to the end of the show. I know we covered a lot of ground here, but don't fret. Remember, we're on a streaming platform after all. So if you didn't get notes or you didn't get screenshots, but you're watching this live, don't worry, because you are going to be sent a link where you can watch us on demand at any point in time. And if you're watching this on demand, then you already know what to do because you're watching us on demand. That was a little awkward for me to say. It's like trying to satisfy two audiences at once. Oh my gosh. So I hope you did get everything you needed. And I just want to take a minute to thank the wonderful, the electrifying EV guests I had here with me today: Derek Dahlke, Anna Tan, Molly Gates, Allison Hartman. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jason. It was awesome to be here.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was so
great
much
knowledge
fun
from everyone.
Yeah, and I hope to have you all back on some other show at some other time. So on behalf of our entire team here at Dealer Inspire, I just want to thank you here for seriously joining us here, for taking in this content. If you're already a Dealer Inspire client and you want to talk strategy about anything that we have going on here, all you have to do is reach out to your performance manager, and they have all the tools they need to get you hooked up. And if you're not a Dealer Inspire client, just give us a call, or even better, just scan that QR code right here with your phone. I'm going to leave it up here for a second so you can get your phones out, give it a scan, and that will take you directly into a conversation, into a chat that you can have with somebody at our team right now. And thank you all for being here, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.